Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All-In Podcast presented by Excellency Esports. I am the League Dad, and as always, we are so happy to be here. Unfortunately, Alistair is once again being a bum. You know, he's busy with college, and he's busy with, I don't know, all his, college esports team, league, whatever, Anyways, it's fine. We'll have to carry on without, the older guys will have to carry on without him. But hey, look, I'm not too bummed because, as always, I got Kevin and Mitchell here. And look, playing started, world started. Regardless of who you thought was going to win, there were some teams we weren't expecting much, but the action was there, and I thought there were some good games, and it was fun overall, just to see teams from different regions battling it out on the Rift. So what are your initial thoughts and just reactions from the playing stages so far?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty exciting. I thought the gameplay from the teams that didn't make it, or the teams that we didn't expect much, they actually kind of brought a lot of good stuff on stage. They weren't afraid to pick up the weird meta picks too. I think the most interesting thing for me for this play was just seeing what people were going to play, because there's so many weird champions out there running around, so many weird builds, so many weird things that we just haven't seen in so long. It feels like a very different game from when we were just at playoffs in North America. So really exciting stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good play-ins. I think that there was some drama and all that stuff, but it was nice to see all these teams show up. I think the parity amongst the lower teams, for better or for worse, is better now. I saw the Brazilian team actually have a close game with Holland Life. Don't know if that's good for either side, but at least it's not great news for Hanwha. But I think that there was actually some pretty watchable games. I think that strangely the only one-sided match, maybe not strangely, but the only one-sided matches saw were LNG versus anyone. It was just
I know.
Just kind of ran through them.
Yeah.
So it was a good group stage or play-ins, and there was actually some LJL actually got in. So for the first time, we actually had some variety here, which is crazy.
I thought LJL, especially, Detonation Focus Me, who we usually see, I thought they've always been pretty good. I like Evie, I like Ari, I think they are pretty good. But let's talk about Beyond Gaming, because I think that's, so on Group A, we kind of, went as predicted, LNG, Hanwha Life. We knew that.
Yep.
We also said Cloud9 would do it, even though they had some bumpers in the road. But the Detonation Focus Me is the surprise here. And so let's talk a little bit about, what do you think about that? I know there was a little scandal going on with Beyond Gaming, because Beyond Gaming is who we thought was going to make it through. So give me your thoughts on that, and how surprised were you with what unfolded?
I wasn't too surprised, considering I did feel like Detonation Focus Me, especially when they actually beat Cloud9. I was like, oh, okay. This is, I could see them being a contending team, in the tiebreaker. They lost to them the first time around, and Cloud9 looked really good in that first game. So it's hard to say which is a stronger team still. They're 1-1 with each other. But that's pretty exciting for Japan, right? I think this is the first time this team has made it out into groups, and to be on par with Cloud9 that has perks on it as a team is pretty impressive for them. Maybe a bit of a bummer for us if you think about it, but that's okay. I guess they're both playing teams, so they should both be treated with, I guess, similar amounts of respect. We're kind of a playing region, so whatever, right? We don't even get out of groups. We do as well as the wildcard teams anyways. So I guess it all makes sense. Yeah, Eevee is hype. His Urgot was really, really sick, so I like the team. They're fun.
Yeah, definitely. Kevin?
Yeah, I think it's exciting. So that was scandal aside. The scandal, for people who don't know, very shortly was just that the mid laner Maoin, his name doesn't super matter anymore, but he pretty much just leaked what the drafts would be to a friend or somebody who it's kind of unclear, who was looking to bet about what the drafts would be, which I didn't know that was a kind of betting.
Wow.
And then his team changed up the drafts on the fly, because they were just thinking about what would be good instead of match fixing or inside trading, not match fixing. And so that friend had revenge on him by just leaking the fact that he did this. So that's what happened. But honestly, Beyond was still third or fourth place in their group. They weren't even the top prospect to get out, right? So honestly, it's unfortunate, but they were going to lose to Hanwha anyways. They were barely able to beat the Turkish team, which is not an easy team, but like this is Taiwan, right? Taiwan generally is like a very good region, so it's unfortunate this happened. I will say what some people might be saying, where like I'm glad it wasn't a region that really mattered, or more specifically a team that mattered, because PSG matters. But PSG did this would be big news. If NA did this, it would be big news. But because it's like the second place team from a region that's like more or less just PSG, like people probably will let it go. We would not do well to have like a TSM or something.
Oh yeah,
Have this as their headline. This would be awful for the scene.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, though, that PSG talent has suffered from a ton of roster changes and last-minute changes and breaks and stuff, like last year at Worlds and MSI. So, I mean, it did happen beyond gaming. PSG talent, though, good enough team. You have some crazy roster swaps, some last-minute situations. They still make it into groups and still perform decently. So,
yeah,
that's what the difference between those two teams are. Yeah, but it is a big bummer for Beyond because they didn't get to play at full strength, when they did have some good showing in the group stage or the first couple matches.
Yeah.
So it can feel cheap to fans of the team to be like, we didn't get to show our best against HLE, against Chovy. So that's a bit of a bummer. But
would it have mattered anyways? I'm just kidding.
Probably not. Yeah.
It would have been a little bit more interesting. I think it would have been interesting if
Yeah.
probably 3-0, maybe 3-1. That's really what it would have been.
Yeah,
Instead
maybe
of
the
what
games
it
are a
was.
bit closer.
It was kind of tragic to watch.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the most important thing though, is that C9 made it through, right?
Yes, they did.
We had some bumps in the road. I mean, after first day, I was like, oh yeah, right? So I was like, looking good. And then, we had that flopper of a day where C9 was just losing everything. But we ended up, 3-0ing in the knockouts. Again, I'm glad it happened. It's like one of those things that they better get in because that would be a severe disappointment. But let's talk about a little bit about our boys, whether you want to praise them, rag on them. I don't know how you feel. They did make it, but give me your thoughts overall on we've only seen C9. We haven't seen 100 Thieves or Team Liquid yet. But again, our first glimpse at NA heading in international. What do you think so far?
Well, I do think Cloud9, they played really well on their first day. Or their first couple of games, and I really feel like they played really well in the last two games of their best of three.
Yeah,
but definitely that day when they were losing everything, they lost the tiebreaker. They lost that one match in the non-tiebreaker. I forget which one it was, but it just felt like they actually were in decent places or ahead. They just threw. They made like a really confusing engage, mostly on Vulcan, with the Leona or the Amumu, and I think it's fixable. I think it is. Also, their first match in their best of five was really, really close. I think it was the Tryndamere game. If you look at the end score, it does seem like it was still a pretty dominant game from C9. But if you watch it, it was actually very, very tense.
I thought they were going to lose in the beginning, but I think their macro kept it in it. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because their scores, like, only Sven is inting, right? Everyone else's scores are actually pretty good.
I know! What did he flash or something, I think? Level 1 or whatever? He got solo killed? Oh my god.
He got solo killed level 1. They almost got double killed. Duo killed? They almost got dual killed in game 2 as well, I think.
They did almost get dual killed.
Yeah, so their bot lane is struggling.
I would say, I think most of those games, they weren't doing... I think it wasn't until the third game where their bot lane actually was, winning from the game. I think he ran Lucian back again, right? Didn't he run Lucian
They did Lucian Nami again in game 3. He was warmed up on it. So,
I was like, okay.
Oh my goodness, though. It was really bad game 1. I don't know if it was nerves or something, or just not familiar. He's normally not a Lucian player.
Right.
So, he plays Ezreal, right? But, I don't know. Yeah, it was okay.
Well, they were going hypey on level 1 with Lucian, and really you need that level 2 spike because once you hit it, then you're Gucci with him.
Yeah,
you're Nami, you're
one
good.
Of the best champions.
Yes,
you're one of the best
exactly.
champions of the game.
I think they were thinking that look, we're stronger than we really are. Level 1, that is kind of when you need to punish them, and they just didn't remember, or
they should still win level 1 if the Lucian Nami play it well. So I think if you still start E on Nami and you start E on Lucian and you do auto reset with your E and you get an instant press the attack proc, you should win against Rakan.
Well, I don't think did Nami go E level 1?
So maybe I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she did.
Didn't happen. Then you definitely don't win that.
Yeah, you don't win that. Yep.
Yeah.
I believe she went W. Yeah, or he went W. So, anyways.
Yeah, you usually go W. On Nami. So, or if she went bubble. You can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But disappointing to see a little bit from Cloud9's bot lane. Rest of the map, felt like did pretty well. 20k gold lead in game 2 from the Olaf was
Yep.
crazy. And yeah,
Blabber
so I don't
Olaf,
know.
man. Blabber
What are your thoughts
Olaf.
on Blabber
Yeah.
in this
I was gonna ask Kevin.
Kevin?
I was gonna ask Kevin the same
Yeah.
thing, man. Because Blabber.
I thought Blabber had some decent games. His Olaf actually popped off for a bit. Like he definitely started, getting punished. DFM just like ran him down after he got fed.
Mhm.
They knew how to handle him, which is something NA teams don't even know how to do, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I think Blabber did fine. I think that there were okay. The one time someone stole the red buff from him with a Q when he had smite up
Yes.
on the early heal.
Yep.
I watched that. I was like, never change, man. But
Never change. Facepalm moment.
I think overall he played well
Yeah.
enough as far as what we expect compared to his previous Worlds performances. Very good play, relatively.
Yeah.
I will say that something I think I heard this on a talk show elsewhere, so it's not an original thought. But I think something that's really annoying about Cloud9 that they mentioned that I wholeheartedly agree with is yeah, Cloud9 never fires on all cylinders at the same time.
Yes.
It's always somebody loses their mind, or two people.
Mhm.
Like I watched Vulcan play some of the
Terrible.
absolute like the stuff I usually reserve for Blabber in terms of comments, types of gameplay. He was playing so bad. Like he just a Mumu Q's in for no reason at level 2 and dies
Yeah.
in group
Oh
stage.
yeah. Good
And they're
stuff.
only winning because they're a better team overall. Like this is a superstar team, guys. Like in general, but they just never all get together. Sven getting soul kill over and over by Pieces bot lane. Like, come on,
Yeah.
Pieces
Yeah.
isn't terrible. They're good. Like I think Babeep was on like some TSM Academy before, I believe, and Tally was on Golden Guardians.
Golden
something.
Guardians. Yeah.
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 So like these aren't bad players. This isn't like Pentanet where we're like, who the heck are these people? These
Yeah.
like are people who have actually played in NA and look decent. But we have a MSI rep who beat Damwon once and RNG once, just playing like absolute like clowns.
Mhm.
So I'm glad we 3-0'd, but Perks played well. Perks played Worlds level
Brooks
well.
played pretty well. Yeah.
Like
He's
he had a
back.
few games where he started to go a little worse, but like honestly, when your whole team's like doing plays like that, it's hard to look good. And he's definitely like his Silas looked great. Like he was like, hey, you gotta ban this, which is not something we've said for a while for any of his characters. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm glad Perks showed up. Like Worlds Perks at least can still be a meme for now.
I
mean,
hope it keeps going.
I think.
I hope so.
I think you're right about the Perks thing. Honestly, I was very relieved that he's playing to more form than what I'm used to. I still don't think he's at that level though, where I'm like, this dude is good. Like he's standing out, right? Like he's definitely performing much better and coming through in the clutch, kind of being that anchor that you need him to be. And that's, you pay for that, right? But I haven't really seen him be like a standout player. I have seen some good stuff from Fudge. And I think the thing is that what you were saying is absolutely right. Like, they're just not like Fudge is firing on all cylinders. It seemed like Perks was doing pretty well, but then you have like the intiness of Sven and Vulcan going on. And, Blabber at times had moments where I was almost kind of questioning his decision making there, but it worked out. And especially with his Olaf, it's good to see him. I'm sure that will probably be corrected as we go on. I don't think he'll ever get Olaf again. I mean, he's just
No, I don't think he should.
freaking good on that champion. And he, with the Gore Drinker build, I mean, anybody with Gore Drinker, I feel like is going to be kind of annoying, no matter what.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm proud of our boys, Cloud9, coming in, getting the wins, having those rocky starts. But hey, this is plans. They did what they're supposed to do. Now I think the real game begins. But let's, shine a little spotlight on the top two, which is LNG and Hanwha Life. I think we already knew that anyways. Any thoughts changing from before when we did the show last time and what you've seen now? Or are we just kind of like, we're on par. That's about right. They're just dominating, and yeah, it's a formality, really.
I have some definite thoughts about Hanwha Life.
Okay.
It is really just Chovy on that team. I feel like that team
That dude
is actually really rough. Also, their macro is pretty terrible. Comparative to LNG, their wave manipulation and them getting to places and getting farm is so much slower than LNG. It feels like. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Hanwha Life is a lot worse. I think it just shows what the difference between the lower Korean and lower Chinese teams. In Korea, it's probably just two teams. It's probably just Danwon and T1 with Faker. But China as a whole region is super stacked. So even if we had a 5th seed and a 6th seed or 7th seed from China, those teams might still be kind of on that level where it's like you have to be like this good, or we'll take over. Like it won't even be close. So I think it's crazy that LNG being the 4th seed looks like a very, very clean team. It does still kind of feel like the Tarzan show, but the rest of the team is like pretty consistent. They're not flashy, they don't do anything crazy, but they feel very consistent. So LNG is gonna be a scary team.
Yeah.
I agree.
I whole time watching them, like I've watched them in the LPL a bit, but they weren't like my favorite team to watch. Besides Tarzan being good on that team, and whole time I watched them here at Worlds, like they definitely gave me like last year seeding vibes. I was just like, Ale's fairly good. I think that he actually hasn't played that well in group stage. Like if you watch his laning phases compared to what you're used to with this guy, he's not laning that well. He takes over the game right after though, so like that's fine. But like if he can turn on that level where he's like better in laning phase, I think he could look like what Bin looked like last year. This team's got a superstar player, and then they have the talent to like at least like play the game around him. They don't have to like carry. The other people don't need to do anything fancy. But we're not looking for them to do anything fancy. We're just looking for them to be people. That's the problem with Hanwha though. Hanwha is legitimately disgustingly boring when they're like not even boring, just like disappointing. There's a lot of like I feel like there should be some expectations for the Korean teams, but like this team just feels so dead. Even with Chovy. Chovy didn't even play the best like to what I would expect from him, to be honest. I watched him play, I was like, what is he doing? His like his Tryndamere game, I don't think the builds were necessarily bad, but like his play was just like it's left a lot to be desired, which is a strange thing to associate with a player of this level. He's in play-ins, guys, and if he's not styling now, that's a problem.
Yeah, I think you have a pretty good point there, honestly. I was a lot less hyped over Chovy after the play-ins, definitely.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that, because he is one of those players, a difference maker, if you will. Like he has to literally carry that team. And by all means, in play-ins, they dominated. I mean, they were, I would say probably the second best team there. But or would you say that they were the second best team? I mean, I did, but would you guys pretty much say that as well? I mean,
for Hanwha as the second best team overall.
Out of all the teams there. I mean, that's what I would think. But
I think Cloud9 or Detonation Focused Me could be competitive. I think it would be favored still to Hanwha, but it wouldn't be like LNG to Cloud9 or LNG to Detonation Focused Me. It wouldn't be on that like anywhere close to that level. So I think Hanwha Life is a very beatable team. It sucks that they're not in a group with any North Americans, so I don't really care that much, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
They're probably getting out of groups in their group with Fnatic, RG, and Peachy Talon. Actually, we can keep talking about this, but there was some interesting Fnatic news that I was just reading about that just came out.
Yeah, bring it out.
Upset will not be playing on the first day of group stage, I believe, due to a family emergency. So that could be a big deal if Fnatic is trying to be competitive and obviously get out of the group. I don't know who they're playing on their first day, but if they're playing someone important like RNG, that can be a really big bummer, because if you lose that game and then you come back and you actually can beat them, like tiebreaker situations can be annoying. So this will have a pretty big effect on Fnatic's chances of getting out of groups.
You said the first day is it just the first day that he's missing, or is it?
Yeah, let me double check it.
Okay.
But
because first day they're playing Hanwha Life. So it's I mean, again, it's a playing team, but Hanwha Life again.
Yeah, that's still a big deal, because that could be another kind of tiebreaker to like maybe get second place. So So
while you're looking that up, let's talk a little bit about what we saw on the Rift as far as champions, because we did talk about meta last time, and one thing I really want to hone in right now is that we talked a lot about the jungle, changes, the different champions we were seeing in the jungle, particularly assassins like Zed and Talon, and we weren't really sure if that was going to come out. But one thing we forgot to mention, or one character we forgot to mention, who I can't believe we forgot, is Qiyana. Because Qiyana has been pretty busted for a while now. And honestly, I don't know why we didn't even mention that last podcast. That's a big miss right there. But she definitely made her presence known. And I think, that could be a champ that we see a lot more coming up. But we did see the Talon. We did see the Zed. What are your overall thoughts on meta? You could talk about jungle, but you can even talk about, like, look, we saw a Mumu support. How did you think that went? I mean, I saw some good games. I saw some not so good games. We did see the Tryndamere mid, right? So we saw that. Also, I think we saw some. I thought it was going to do more, honestly, and I felt like it kind of was a letdown. So give me your thoughts on all of that, and you can chime in anything else that I may have missed. But what are your thoughts on the meta so far?
I think the most surprising thing to me was actually Misfortune. I didn't see that
Oh,
coming at
you're
all.
right.
She
Yes,
was played
all the time.
basically
Yeah.
every single game almost. She
Mm-hmm.
had a 97% presence.
Yeah.
Way more picks than bans, right? So she's not seen as a
Mm-hmm.
priority ban, so she just gets played every single game. And there's just a lot of wombo combo. You know, there's a Muumu's,
Yep.
there's Leona's. So so that's been interesting. There's a lot of Rakans too. Just big wombo combos set up for a Misfortune ulti. I think it's very interesting. I have this weird suspicion that it might just be a play-in meta. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's not,
Oh.
and it keeps going. But
Oh.
teams at higher calibers are much better at dodging the wombo combo.
Mm-hmm.
Much better at avoiding Misfortune ulti that you kind of have to stand still, right? It's very punishable if you know how to play around
For
Misfortune.
sure. Yeah.
So certain lanes that like, if one team tries to play some Misfortune into you, and you can play a bot lane that kind of just neutralizes and goes even, but outscales really hard, you can just kill the Misfortune later on and not get hit by Misfortune ultis and stuff
Yep.
as the stronger ADC. So I feel like it might fall out of favor a little bit, is my guess. But yeah, that's interesting meta thoughts there. Yes.
Okay. Kevin, what do you think?
I think I would agree. I think even in plans itself, you were seeing a lot of them that's just whiff, and like this is like against
Mm-hmm.
worse teams, right? Like they were not whiffing per se, but like they weren't being as effective as you would imagine. There was a few good ones, like I think Light had a good game from LNG, and like was it Deft or Dog? Oh, Doggo played pretty well, but he just doesn't have a
Hmm.
team, so like it's very hard to judge, you know.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that you could also argue though there are some very good AD carries who haven't played it yet, so we haven't
That's
Yeah.
very
seen
true.
it
Yeah,
in like the
that's a good
hands of like
point.
real. I was gonna say real human, real competent players. But I think that you're still right. Generally, the trend will be like this, like kind of wombo combo setup is like always scary, right? When you see it in a scrim, when it's more loose or like, oh man, that 5 mana Moomoo into MF, man, it's so scary. I
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
seen anything of the sort yet. Like
Yeah.
the Moomoos especially, like there's always this famous comment that support players are like the worst pro players, and like that's why it's a meme more so. And I don't think it's fully true, but like that's why I always there's like these role swaps, right? And these
Yeah.
players are really good when they role swap all of a sudden, even though they were kind of mediocre in their old role. I'm thinking like Hoo-Hee from
Yeah.
sorry, I'm attacked TSM for
I
it's a
know,
reason.
man. We're not even talking. They're not even in
They're
worlds,
not
Kevin.
even here.
Oh my
They're just,
gosh.
home to just, oh, what did you
Look
hit
at
me?
look at the abuse that I take on this show. My
But
gosh.
anyways, like he got a lot better as a support, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
he was like okay as a mid laner, but he got so much better. Like you're talking top 3. So it's just bad, man. The Mumu players, like I don't know if Mumu is good or bad. I just can't honestly tell because they hasn't been given a fair representation at Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you there. I mean, but let's forget about Amumu, okay? There's someone that I'm even more happy to see on the Rift, and you guessed it. It's freaking Nami, man. Like
Yep.
I know.
Lucian
Look,
Nami.
it's been a while. Like I'm a Nami. Like that's probably my highest mastery champ, just because I've always loved that champion. And the fact that I even got to see her or any enchantress really in the bot lane in a while, it's great to see. We're not seeing any other really besides maybe Karma. But yeah, I thought it was cool to see, especially with that Lucian. Honestly, I think there's a lot of power there. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think she'll be picked more in groups, or do you think she might just be another playing stage? Because again, I think she's good. Honestly, I think she's strong. She's good in solo queue, but she also does really well with auto attacking champs such as Lucian.
Yep.
And
A lot of
whatever, even
bruisers,
MF.
too,
Yeah,
so,
a lot of bruisers.
yeah.
So, what do you think about the Nami pick, and what are your thoughts on that moving forward?
I can see it going two ways, honestly. I think the way that it traditionally goes is it always goes back to melee supports. It always goes
Yeah.
back to Braum, Leona, Alistair, Nautilus, and Thresh. The one exception.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably the most likely thing just because it always happens, and that's what definitely most like really high up there pro teams. They're just like, we want the melee support to go roam and get our top and superstar mid laner ahead or something.
Yeah.
So that could be a thing. But also, I could see another world that seems very realistic, honestly, is keep seeing Lucian Nami, and we keep trying to see lanes evolve into, all right, you're going super lane dominant, we can do something similar, or we can do like, instead of Lucian Nami, maybe we do Lucian Zyra, or not Lucian Zyra, but like an ADC in Zyra to be a mage to have range.
Yeah.
I don't know what Nami's matchups are. You can go the different route where you can go scaling too. Sona is super broken in solo queue right now,
Yep.
and it's something I've been wondering if people will pick it, because if you can survive laning phase against the Nami, you'll outscale them like ridiculously hard.
Yep.
Maybe Yumi, I don't know. It's a little scary against a Nami Lucian combo
Yeah.
specifically, but if, like, you take the Lucian away, I could see it getting split up, right? Maybe if you take the Nami or Lucian first, but yeah. So
I
those
wonder
are my
if
thoughts.
Would Nami be good without Lucian, is what I'm thinking. Because she obviously,
Yeah.
she obviously synergizes very well with Lucian, but it almost might be like that thing with, Senna Tom Kench or Varus Tom Kench, where you ban one and you're basically breaking the duo. I'm wondering if it could kind of evolve into that, because I don't know if Nami would be good with, or as strong or as
Yeah.
optimal with another ADC. You know what I mean?
It's probably mostly
That's
the
what I'm
Lucian,
thinking.
honestly.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
his passive is so overpowered
It's so
that
good,
it's
yeah.
probably just the Lucian, yeah. So yeah, I think you're probably right, actually. Nami probably,
Mm-hmm.
you just don't want to get it split up. If you get split
Right.
up, you probably lost your draft or
Probably
something.
lost it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Cool. What
yeah.
do you think,
Or the bot
Kevin?
lane, at least.
My read on the Nami is I think it's a decent pick, but I don't think it's actually being picked because like it's just powerful per se. I think it's like generally the times I watched at least where it's like a pick into MF. You stop her ults, you stop
True.
her
That's a
ability.
good
A
point.
lot of her
Yeah.
power just comes with a lot of her power just comes from sitting there and
Mm-hmm.
pretty much stopping the ult for free, or at least pressuring her off of a good ult, right? Because like
Yeah.
a lot of them don't want to be caught in the knockup. So before he even hits it, already has done his job of soft CC or
Yeah. Exactly.
however you want to call it, you know. So I think that's part of it. I think that she's kind of been like middling effective. If I had to describe whatever the heck I've been witnessing so far, like I don't think she's looked like meta broken, you know, which I don't know if she should look broken, but I think Nami so far is kind of underwhelming in my eyes. But I think she's a good pick. I think she's safe. I think that she puts pressure so that people can't roam. So there's like checks all the boxes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Very
know
late
would
dominant
be
pick.
you know would be really great right now, like to help us with these ADC like picks and discussions.
Very true.
Yeah, Alistair, where are you? Like, this is actually, I would
When the
love to
world
hear.
needed him the most.
I would really love to hear your insight right now on, the
Yeah, we're
MF
kind of
pick.
struggling over here, you know,
No,
like
we're
We're
trying.
like Molly does this right?
Yeah, I'm like,
God, it's dark. A call for help.
I'm sure we'll hear what he has to say in Discord. But yeah, very
Yep.
interesting, because you're right. Like, I think if we look at the ADC so far, it's definitely MF number one, and then we're talking about Lucian, with that Nami or Aphelios, right? I think
Yeah,
those were the
pretty
top
much.
three that we saw.
Ezreal
So-
too.
and
Yep.
Ezreal. Well, Ezreal, I think will be always one of those champs that
Yeah,
is going to
they're
be
floating
find
around.
his way somewhere in there,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you
I
can,
There's
think
just
it's
too
just
many good
everyone's
Ezreal
an
players.
Ezra one trick, just like
Yeah.
Lee Sin.
Yep.
Lee Sin, exactly.
Yep. It's the same deal.
Okay, so any other things you want to talk about in the meta before we kind of look forward into the group stage? Anyone want to talk about Tryndamere mid or anything else? that you saw?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
a lot of crazy stuff in this meta. I think it's probably the most interesting thing about World so far, and I think that for some people, maybe that has been more interesting than actual which teams are playing each
Yeah.
other. Just seeing how the draft's going to shake out. So I do think that Tryndamere mid, very underwhelming. Maybe I don't actually think it's the quality of players. I think he's super easy to kite in team
Yeah,
fights.
that's what
and
it
I think,
is, yep.
yeah, I think it's just gonna fall off. I don't think you should early pick it ever. It's not first pick material. It's mostly just a counter pick to a team comp. So if a team comp messes up and they play a team with a bunch of melees, and something that Tryndamere can get out of lane easily, he will just 1v9 the game. But you play a lot of range stuff. Like, also Nami's great at kiting stuff like Tryndamere and canceling stuff like Rakan, or messing with Leona if you're really good at Nami. So it's an interesting like meta that I think once we get to the higher tiers, no more Tryndamere, probably no more Mumu is my guess too.
No, interesting. Kevin,
Yeah.
what do you think?
No, Mumu, really?
Maybe a little bit, but
I think Tryndamere will still get played. I think Tryndamere, my little brother's a degenerate Tryndamere main. So the way I feel like is like it's just not a character you pick up if you don't know how to play it.
Right, yeah.
You need like either affinity for it or a lot of hours on it. Like you see Tryndamere mains versus just randos play that
Yep.
character.
Mhm.
It's just like not the same video game, right? Like there are
I'm the
just huge
rando.
difference in pressure. Also, let me just put it this way: I think Chovy just hasn't shown up ever at Worlds, so I would like to see him.
I was
do
gonna,
it.
I was gonna, yeah, I was
Right,
gonna
like,
dig into
let's
that a
just
little
like
bit.
leave it out there, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
think about it. Viper's the best AD carry in the world, probably,
Yes,
or
yeah.
one of.
Yep. He popped off on
Tarzan's
Griffin.
top 3 at least,
Yep.
even though
Mhm.
his like groups was fine, but they stopped, right? So who knows how good he is?
Mhm.
Yep.
And then Chovy's also like the number 1 laning midlaner at least, right? Most people would agree with that.
Yep.
But how could that team never win? Like I think one of these
Exactly.
guys, at least one of these superstar people from the old Griffin team is a choker. Maybe all of them are, but Chovy just didn't look good against bad players,
Yeah.
like relatively speaking,
Yep.
right? And maybe he'll show up in group stage, but if he can't show up against bad players, it's very hard for me to say he'll like. Maybe he plays to the level he plays against, but that does not speak world's best mid laner to me, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, Chovy is one of those players where we always are expecting something high. So I think sometimes maybe it's a little bit of the expectations are so high that we expect that. But honestly, I think that's still not a fair excuse to give him because he has performed so well for so long that when it's time to come through, there's that clutch factor, right? You need to perform when it counts the most. And that is a thing. Like there are players, like even in any sport really, that are great during the regular season, but we come across you know, high pressure situation, clutch times, and they just choke. To me, for football, it's Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys, right? If anybody has watched football, you know, and that's a while back. But I used to be a Cowboys fan, and every time he performed well in the season, but just choke in the playoffs. But let's go on to actually real quick with the Tryndamere mid. I think what you said, Mitchell, was right. Like I think pro teams are too good at kiting and getting him away where he can't do enough damage. Because if you saw Tryndamere, yeah, he'd get like 1 kill, maybe 2, but then he just would be like so low health that he's pretty much out of the fight, and that's it. Like they couldn't do anything.
Gotta go
I think if
Lexdale,
you're if you're gonna go Tryndamere, you have to be in the right comp where you know you've CC'd them to death, and then Tryndamere can kind of go in and just dive and clean up everything. So we'll see what team comps come up with, but so far I'm not really believing in it, and I think the better teams are again just going to be able to kite it and make it ineffective. So let's move on now to groups. Now that the groups are finally set, the teams are finally in their places. Let's just go through each one and give me the top 2 of each one, and you know we'll go from there. So let's start with Group A. We have Damwon, Kia. We have Rogue, Cloud9, and FPX, which is, man, this is a tough group for our boys at C9. So what do you guys think there, Mitchell? Who's your 1-2?
Yeah, my 1-2 I think is gonna be FPX and then Damwon.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it's between Cloud9 and Rogue. They've both been kind of weird. They both like Rogue completely choked in their playoff series, and Cloud9, I mean, they kind of had an underwhelming end to their playoff series. It felt like losing to 100 Thieves pretty drastically when they've historically beaten that team all the time. So hard to really say. Cloud9 also had a kind of a weird entrance into Worlds where they seemed like the most dominant team, had one really bad day and then had another good day. Makes you not trust in the team to always play at their top level, which is most people are afraid of. I think if Cloud9 plays at the top level, they can get third and they can take some games off the 1-2. But that's all we're looking for really for Cloud9. I would be very surprised if anything else happens.
So are you thinking Damwon gets first here or FPX? Because
FPX, I said. Yeah, okay, FPX then Damwon. Yeah. Okay. I think just Chinese region is going to be, I think, a lot stronger.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin.
Real quick, remember to do your pick'ems because I'm just going to give you my pick'ems.
There you go.
FPX first, Damwon second, third place C9, fourth place Rogue. And the only reason Rogue objectively should be better than best of ones. They are only choker dogs in like best of 5s, right? So far.
Yeah.
But they were dominant like during a lot of the season. They look like they should be the heir apparent to the LEC throne because there's so much more talent on that team in terms of like really sick player. Inspire's crazy, Larson's crazy. Like there's so much good talent on that team, but they like don't show up in playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they have, I think they have more talent than Mad Lions on paper. They just don't show up, which matters too much. But I want the boys on C9 to just get there. Objectively, it should be Rogue, but who cares?
Yeah.
It's just third and fourth, right?
They
might take games off Damwon and maybe one off FPX because usually the Chinese team gives up one no matter how good they are. They give it up to like Fnatic, back when FPX won. So it's possible, but like I just think FPX is still the best team, regardless of like one series they played poorly.
I would love to see C9 take a game off of either Damwon or FPX. That would just make my day. That would be good enough for me, honestly. They're in a tough group, man. Like, so I will, again, I count it as a win if they take a game from either one of those, but I'm going FPX, Damwon, and C9 Rogue, just like you, Kevin. Again, same reason, C9, I got to put them above Rogue. Come on, man. That's
they gotta get third. Let's go.
We gotta get third. That's a win for me. I'm counting that as a win.
That's a weird copium right there.
I know, right? Yes, third place. Woo! All right.
That meme.
I know, right? Group B, we have Detonation Focus Me, T1, Edward Gaming, and 100 Thieves. Woo!
Yeah, this one is also pretty straightforward for me. It's going to be EDG T1, 100 Thieves, Detonation Focus Me.
Okay.
I think that if 100 Thieves got out of this group, it would be pretty crazy. People don't actually think that T1 is that good, which I'm not sure about. I think EDG, historically, honestly, doesn't do that great in groups. Just kind of gets out in second, barely, But this team just won, and they have Viper, and they seem like a way better team in past EDG iterations, just in my opinion. I don't know too much about EDG's overall roster strength usually, but when they go to Worlds, this feels like a different type of EDG. So I do think they will be probably significantly better than T1. T1 probably be slightly better than 100 Thieves. I think it'll be surprisingly close, but they'll probably still maybe go 2-0. Over 100 Thieves, and we're just hoping that we get a game. So, same deal as Cloud9.
That's the same deal as the group game. I agree. All right, Kevin, what do you got?
I unfortunately have the same order as you. It was EDG T1, 100 Thieves, DFM. I think that, unfortunately, 100 Thieves is a much better team than C9, but they're just in a group that's like significantly more doomed. So I would love to have seen that. I think there's a world they get second, but it's like a 30% world or 20% world.
Do you think T1 it's more likely or less likely than Cloud9 making out of groups?
More likely. Damwon Gaming FPX on a bad day beats C9. At least once. At least once, right? You need to win twice to not have to do a tiebreaker, because us in tiebreakers, literally it just happens every time. But anyway, my trauma aside, here's the thing. I don't think T1's very good, guys. I think that they should be very good, but every time I watch them, there's so much talent on the team. This team is probably better than Damwon on paper, if you just everyone's playing to their potential, but they're not. They really aren't. It's just like C9, right? It's they should be really good. They're not. And I can't ignore that. I would love to see Faker go to playoffs, by the way. I think he deserves it. But
heck yeah.
Anyone who didn't watch LCK finals, that was the 3-1, but it was the 3-1 where Don was toying with them. They were just playing random drafts. They were literally hiding drafts for no reason. Because why? Worlds is going to be a different patch anyways. It was embarrassing, I would say. So honestly, it's not as close as it should be. And that is disappointing. Even though this hasn't even happened yet, I'm just already disappointed.
Damn. Have some faith in Faker, man. He'll come through.
That's the one guy I have faith in on that team. The one of two. I think that Owner, whatever his name is decent. I think Gumi, Yushi, or Teddy are both good, but they're both incomplete players. If you could combine them, be a great team, a great AD carry. But one's good late game in team fighting, one's good in lane. That's not enough. Real quick, for people who don't watch EDG, their jungler is kind of inconsistent as hell. He's kind of like Ning from IG in the past, where it's I don't know who's going to show up today. And other than that, they're just a solid all-around team. They're not uber good, but they're not bad at all. So definitely expect them to do some damage.
Yeah, I'm my top two are the same as you guys, EDG and T1. I always root for the old guys because I am an old guy. And so I want to see Faker show these young ones what's up, you know what I'm saying? I want to see him do well. Plus, he's the GOAT, in my opinion, so I wanted to see him do well. Again, I think they'll get second in this group. I'm kind of along your lines, though, Kevin. Amongst the upper echelon of teams. Unfortunately, I don't think T1 can match some of the caliber of some of these top tier teams, but I am rooting for him because I would love to see that story arc, come to fruition, but we'll have to see. Honestly, I hate myself for saying this, but I think DFM is going to be third over 100
Oh my
Thieves.
goodness.
Because I have
Oh, I didn't even give him word. Yeah.
I in the past have always bet our NA teams over DFM, and they seem to be the team that just has our number for some reason. And while I want 100 Thieves to win, it's been a while since I've seen them. So again, my memory's bad. I don't really, know what's going to happen. Again, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen them at all, right? I've seen DFM. So that might be a plague to my downfall, but I think they might actually be third. Although I am still going to root for 100 Thieves, but that's my third and fourth place DFM, and then 100 Thieves for Group B. Let's go to Group C. We got Hanwha Life Esports, PSG Talon, Fnatic, and RNG.
This is an interesting group, especially with the new knowledge about Upset. So I actually read it's indeterminate, so we don't actually have a time when he's coming back.
Okay.
Wow.
So
I hope everything's okay, honestly.
Yeah, I hope everything's okay too with Upset. There's literally no news about it except that it's an emergency. So like a family emergency maybe. But yep, that is the thing. So this group is very confusing. I thought it was just gonna be for me RNG and then Fnatic. I was gonna put him over Hanwha Life, but now I actually think that it might just be Hanwha Life, and then they'll get third, and PSG Talon will be fourth. Because I do think that Upset's a very, very important part of the team. If they don't have a good ADC in this tournament, playing like a Lucianami or playing Ezreal or playing, whatever he plays, it's just not going to be as good. He's a really good part of the team. He's very consistent. So, yeah, unfortunate for Fnatic fans in Europe.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's so big.
That is very big.
Wait, can you repeat the teams? I'm trying to open up my pick'ems, but my...
Oh, yeah. So it's Hanwha Life, PSG, Fnatic, and RNG.
RNG first, for sure.
Yeah.
And I put Fnatic second, and then I put third, I put PSG, and then Hanwha. I think Hanwha is garbage.
Wow. Okay.
They are so bad. I am sorry. It is just insulting that I have to watch these guys and call them a Korean team. I feel bad for the region because like there's talent there.
Yeah.
Like you see a team, you're like Chovidev, nice, and then you watch them play and you're like, what the heck? So I'm not a fan at all. I think if you're struggling against like not even like the play-in contenders, you're just struggling against every play-in team to like close out cleanly. That's not acceptable for a team that should be like getting to playoffs, right? This isn't easy anymore for them. So, yeah, that's what I got from him. And I don't think PSG is as good with their not Doggo. I don't know what his name is. Unified, I believe it was. Unified.
Yep. Okay.
So this is just everyone has this take though. It's not an original one.
Right. I mean, RNG definitely has to be first for me. The news is kind of weird. That does throw a wrench into everything because we don't know how long it is. That's the hard part. Because if it's 1 day, maybe 2 days, I think Fnatic can still be salvageable. Yeah, but I don't know how long it is, and honestly, it's unfortunate. But I don't think they can do it without their main ADC. So I don't think Hanwha Life is as bad as Kevin is saying. I mean,
what place are you gonna put them? What place are you gonna put them?
I'm putting them second.
Are you? Okay. I thought you were gonna put them third. I'm like, that's pretty bad.
No. I'm putting them second, and then I would put Fnatic because of the no upset in third, and then PSG in fourth.
Oh shoot, he's not coming.
Who?
Right. I forgot to factor that because I was looking at my pick'ems.
Yeah.
Let me switch that. Then PSG second.
PSG second.
PSG second.
Wait, did I put PSG second?
You have RNG, Fnatic, PSG.
I had so I switched because Fnatic doesn't have.
Okay, so PSG second.
It's just like that one year that's. I wish an NA team was in this group because it would be like that year that TSM made it out of groups because of Sincere being a little bit bad at the internet.
That would be the group to be in. Honestly, I think C would have been.
That's where it's at, and I wanted our NA boys to take advantage of it, but unfortunately.
We didn't.
Oh, that's such a big
just
deal.
our luck.
Not gonna lie, I forgot that Upset was on that team. That was just like, oh, Upset isn't available, but he's not on Fnatic. He's on like whatever he was on, Schalke or whatever before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right.
unfortunate for Fnatic though, because I mean, this was going to be a crazy year for them. They would
Mhm.
maybe make it out of groups without Reckless, first time in a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. It's true.
And
So
no G2 to stop him either.
yeah, no
Yeah.
G2 to stop
In
them. They
some
could have made
randomly in
another
the
deep
bracket.
run. Yeah.
Mhm.
They were on the opposite side of G2 for pretty much all the
For a
time
while.
anyway. So
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
they usually get knocked out by a Chinese team. They did make it to finals in 2018. This could have been a year that they could have done a crazy miracle run. Who knows?
Oh, that's
There's
true.
a lot of
Man.
obstacles out of the way for them. There's a good chance they get matched up with maybe some random North American team. I don't know in semifinals,
Yeah.
but
Right.
yeah, it's unfortunate for them. I hope Upset is maybe just gone for a day and he comes back or something.
That would be best case
yeah.
scenario. It would mess up my predictions, but
Yep.
I
Always
honestly,
better to have results without an asterisk, right?
yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
we'll see. Hopefully, again, I hope everything works out with whatever's going
They're
on
a cool
there.
team. I like them.
Yeah,
They're exciting.
I do. I
Yeah.
like it too.
You have to ban Twisted Fate against them. That's kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
Yep.
So,
They also actually look like they're like really trying every time. They have like inspiration, their spirit in that
Yes.
team. It's like
Yeah.
they
They're
care
very
to like make
creative.
the region good again.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to Group D. We got Gen.G, Mad Lions, Team Liquid, and LNG. Not looking good, I think, for Team Liquid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It-
Kevin, you
it's
might have
looking-
other thoughts, but let's start with Mitchell. What's Mitchell going to say?
So it's actually looking okay for Team Liquid. I think.
Okay.
I think
All right.
there's a chance. I think if I were to put odds, it would be not in the favor for Team Liquid to make it out, but it would be LNG first. I think. I think it would be
Yes.
LNG first, and then I think Gen.G, while they're honestly not that great of a team, I think they will be difficult for Team Liquid. They historically have always been. These players like Clid and BDD, they just don't seem to do poorly against North American teams. That's not they're an actual Korean team where it's like they're not that great in the grand scheme of things, but they'll always beat North America. So
That's sad.
I think it's going to be tough for them.
Man. That's
Yeah.
accurate, man.
That's so sad.
Oh no! That realization hit hard. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not gonna really lose to them. I also think that Mad Lions. I mean, I definitely think Team Liquid can beat Mad Lions in a
Okay.
game, but it's probably gonna be 1-1 tiebreaker. Honestly, if we know historically how it goes when these groups for North America look like this, where it's pretty much just stacked across the board. We get lucky and maybe we get a tiebreaker and we lose in it. And we get third, but we have Alfari. We have a pretty sick team. Maybe we win the tiebreaker and we get second. Am I gonna put him in my pickings? Unfortunately, no. I'm not gonna put him in my pickings, but I think they have the best chance out of any North American team to make it out of groups. Over Gen.G or Mad Lions seems reasonable. It feels like TSM last year, kind of when they had the crazy group.
Oh, I was
Also
gonna
with
mention
Gen.G.
that. My pain.
Oh, sorry. Well,
Yeah.
we didn't plan it out. But anyways, that would be an interesting thing if Team Liquid
Yeah.
made it out. I think they could do it. So.
Okay.
Oh no need to be sorry, bro. I meant like I was gonna mention that as like my pain is feeling through this. Like we're on
Yes.
the same page with this prediction, this doom,
Yes.
this impending terror. Yeah. So this is scary because there's so much parity in this group, and this is the kind of group you could go 06 in. Like let's not mince words, right? And they
Yep.
could get out or they could go 06. And like there's so much talent at NA, which we've said this all the time on for certain NA first seeds. The scary part is that we have so much talent, but so do these other teams. I think that NA could easily go 1-1 with all the teams here. I will say that my final thing is I think that Gen.G's they're chokers, but they aren't really chokers in group stage, unfortunately. I would put first place. I put Mad Liquid OG Gen.G on my pickup.
Wait, what? What? Wait, say that again. You have Mad Lions first.
I don't want to
Liquid
repeat it,
second.
but I will.
Okay. Mad Lions, Liquid, and then Gen.G, you said?
Yeah,
LNG.
Yeah.
Oh, Gen.G and then LNG fourth?
No. LNG. Gen.G.
LNG,
Sorry, I got
okay.
your
LNG?
words mixed up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That is very interesting, Kevin, honestly.
That's exciting. That's
I
a hype one.
expected,
Yeah.
like that
I
one.
expected
I
the
mean,
Liquid
I have
one.
reasoning behind it, but it's not perfect, So my reasoning behind it is like this: like in Alliance, they've already been to Worlds. They took Dawn to Game 5. Like they are good, or MSI. They've been international with this roster. They're good. Like I don't like fault them at all. But I think that like I think LNG should actually be like very high up. I just don't want them. I want Liquid to get through. That's my reason.
Okay, that's.
I was thinking about like how do I sell this? Like, no, I can't sell it better. And I think Genji is just not a good team. I think that they were actually supposed to be the 4th seed. A lot of people in New Korea were like, "Do we think Common Life is better?" I'm like, okay, that's weird. And I don't watch that much Korea, to be fair. But I was just like, if they're supposed to be better and they look that, I already call Hanwha bad, then I would put these guys even underneath them. There's just all the perennial like you were supposed to be the next Faker / Tarzan whatever, and you weren't. There's Clid, there's BDD, there's Ruler is still good. But Life was supposed to be a top support, and like he just stopped being a top support afterward, right? So I actually really think Liquid could, I hope, go 2-0 against them, take that, and then like run to a tiebreaker. And we'll see. There's a lot of Hopium there.
You never know.
60% chance one NA team makes it out, right? It's got to be one of them. That was my statement last time. And so I think it's possible. This is the group to get out. I think of all of them, this is the group that has the highest chance to get out. It's also the highest chance to look really bad.
Yep.
But
this is an 06.
You got to pick your fights when you're NA.
06. Yeah, I like it.
So, Kevin, you would be proud of me because I actually have Team Liquid in 2nd as well.
Really?
Partly
in
because
your fake draft, or like really? Are you
no, this is my pick'ems, but it also lines with my fake draft.
I thought you were
it's also my
me.
faith. No, it's my faith draft, but it's also like who I have in pick'ems because I have LNG first. I have Team Liquid 2nd. I think Mad Lion will be 3rd, and then Genji 4th. Again, I think what you guys have all mentioned this. Honestly, they could flip one or two ways, right? Like I think it could be really close, and that's why honestly, you could put anyone in first. Well, I wouldn't put Team Liquid in first, sorry, Kevin, but
I didn't either.
You could put the other 3 teams in first, and I think it wouldn't be that much of a surprise, right? In fact. Right. I think no. Me and Mitchell have LNG first, but again, I think you could justify putting any of those teams on there. So, although we have different things, I do think this is our best chance, and I think that Team Liquid can do it. I also think Team Liquid has shown, last year they went 3-3, right? Pulling out something at the end. Maybe they can, pull out a miracle as well. So that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm banking on. But again, this group will be will be interesting. I'm thinking the games here will probably be pretty close. I think we'll have a lot of exciting games, particularly in this group, because I think the disparity, again, could be pretty close. So it'll be interesting to see.
A brief thing, too. LNG was the 10th place team in spring. And then in summer, they only did well in like a giant gauntlet, essentially. They just ran through the gauntlet, and that's how they even got to this part. They're a good best of 5 team. I'm just kind of concerned in best of 1s. I mean, to be fair, they were 10th place in best of 3, so it's not that different either. But the point is, I'm a little concerned when it's just 6 games and you're just playing double round robin. They maybe won't show up as much as they should, and I think they're really scary when it comes to bracket play. When you have best of 5 planning and all that stuff. So if they make it out, they're gonna go further. But that's the only reason I put them 3rd here is just they might not have everything together yet. They still didn't look like what I expected during group stage, and they were the best team in play-in. So I was like,
Yeah. Okay. Did you guys have anything else on this upcoming group stage? Any last thoughts that you wanted to kind of throw out
I think this group stage is going to be really hype, because I wonder what all the teams that have been able to watch play-ins, what are they going to counter in the meta? What are they going to pick if someone does pick a Mumu? Will it be something weird? Will it be something else different? Or they decide to pick... You can't pick Jax or Tryndamere against Jax players, is what we've seen. Definitely don't want to do that. Or Aurelia, too. Jax players seem... You can just beat the Aurelia-Tryndamere matchup if you're good enough at it. So I'm curious to see what those meta picks are going to be. I think... I would be interested to see if we get more Enchanter supports. What are they going to look like? Will Seraphine come back?
Yeah.
We are seeing Lulu too, so we might see Yumi Sona. We might see Zyra. I don't know. There could be a lot of interesting stuff. So going to be exciting. Lee Sin, of course, we're going to get some of the best Lee Sin players in the world to play.
That's always fun.
I can't wait. It's been getting banned so much, and I'm kind of sad that it's getting banned, but it'll go through, and then maybe one of our crazy players will get to get their hands on it.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. So did you have anything, Kevin, before I hit on our final topic for the night?
Yeah, the one last thing is like I think this is a really momentous moment in history because this is the first time ever that we've not voted a single Korean team as first. By the way,
Oh wow.
Ooh,
Yeah,
very,
never
interesting.
very
ever
interesting.
like all the time like they were like, oh, Damwon should be like first place in this group like that.
Mm,
They were like carrying the torch or like somebody like Griffin or whatever. But
it's
like
true.
this year they just happened to put the top 2 teams in the world in everyone's power rankings in the same group. Really screwed up format. I really think in the future we should have the ability to have team kills, like two teams from the same region in the same like group, for
Yeah.
example. I just don't
Hmm.
think that like we don't need to live in a world where every group is literally predicting China 1, Korea 2, or mix that up and just go down the line all the
Hmm.
way until like maybe the EU team is first, maybe, or LNG
Yeah.
is first. Like that's just not fun to me. I'm fine if the group of death is like FPX, EDG, Dawon Gaming, and then like C9 gets sacrificed, and then like some other team gets out, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't need this. Like it's just really really sad sometimes. It's exciting until the matches start, and then I feel like after the first round robin, you're like, man, this is tough. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
scary stuff.
The reality sets in is what happens.
Right?
We have this because
Yeah.
we haven't seen anything yet. The hopium high is high, for all of us
Yeah.
in NA. But yeah,
But
I
that's just
definitely
like maybe we'll discuss it more when it all boils down. We're a little
Sure.
salty, not salty, but like we have
we'll be salty.
hindsight, right? We'll be salty. I'll just be like, why is there a monster, like 2 monsters in that group for some reason? The seeding
Again,
also
yeah,
doesn't make sense. I love Worlds. We just need double elim and better groups, and then it will
yeah,
be the best tournament ever. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying.
Yeah.
for
I'm
sure.
saying a lot
Definitely.
actually. That's not a. That's all I'm saying.
The format could definitely use some work.
I mean, this
some
always
tweaking.
boils down to we'll have our annual. What do we need to do to get better as a region?
Right.
Because
Well, no,
these
the thing
guys
is,
are
like,
just so
they've done
good.
it, right?
Yeah.
All the regional leagues have put double elim. Maybe Korea hasn't, but all the other leagues that I watch have put double elims, and it's been so much better.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Worlds doesn't change. That makes no sense. That's
I think
literally
they
nonsense.
definitely, honestly, I'd be all for a bigger Worlds tournament, like a longer one.
Yeah.
And less, regionals make those shorter or whatever. Like for
Right.
I would love because this is what we want to see. Like it's cool, like seeing it against our own league, but it's just all a build up to Worlds, and so I
Yep.
don't want this event to end so quick. So
I mean, it is COVID, so that's probably why this
Sure.
one's so jam packed.
Sure.
Like literally, right after we record this, tomorrow's
It's coming.
group
Yep,
stage.
it's starting
Yep.
already. Yep.
So this is probably not what they wanted to do.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
hopefully they take next year and really run with it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it'll be great. Okay, last thing I want to talk about before we close it up is just have you guys seen the preseason changes
Yeah,
coming up? So there's a lot of, again, this is every year, and every year as an old person, I get mad because I don't like changes, and here again, I have to, learn changes, especially as jungler. I mean, I guess some of the things they're not changing are too bad, but like they're adding a couple of Drakes, and they're adding a couple of items, just a bunch of things. But is there, and I don't want to go too in depth with it right now because we'll probably have another episode like this once preseason starts or gets
Right.
closer, right? But just with it coming out, what are your initial thoughts? Is there anything that's like eye-catching to you, or you think that's going to be like, oh, this is going to be a big impact thing in either solo queue or pro play or whatever? But just initial reactions, thoughts to any of the changes that you've seen so far.
Yeah, definitely looking through it, I thought the way the new dragons changed the terrain,
Yeah.
especially allowing the gates around the map that allow for teleportation. Those
That's
gates could
crazy.
be anywhere. We don't know how many gates there are, depending.
Yeah.
It's completely up to Riot. They could make this thing absolutely busted or
Mhm.
just completely useless.
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes. It could be one of those things though where it's like you get this dragon and now you have like just crazy map positioning. You can just push waves and control side waves so much easier than the enemy team. That's just not even fair. So that's something I'm afraid of. That this is actually something that'll need to get tweaked. Maybe if it's too like game warping, like you get it and you just kind of just win because it seems depending on where it could be very OP. So
Yeah.
and the other dragon, it's kind of cool. It's like a little mini Tryndamere passive effect. Depending on how much damage it does, it just seems like I guess it's just a visual version of Infernal Drake, kind of when you think about it.
Right.
So just gives you more damage, just looks different. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin, what about you? Anything pop out?
Yeah, so I was going to mention that. Think the portals are cool. So great mention there. I think that like fundamentally they mentioned somewhere, I don't know if it was in the video or if it was elsewhere, but I heard that they're planning on buffing literally every role but AD carry. If Alistar was here right now, he would be rolling his eyes. I'm happy about that. That's good news for me. But we'll go into that in detail later when they actually give details, right? Because we don't know how they're doing this, and I don't know why they're doing this. But I'm a jungle player. I don't care. But I will say something interesting is that they did all these like really cool dragons that they explicitly said in the video. We know that they will be stronger. That is intentional, like than the dragons that exist right now. I'm like, okay, cool. You're making some impactful dragons. But if we're gonna have 6 dragons in the rotation, and also the rift changes twice now in a game, why is Cloud Dragon still allowed to be like that? Like, I don't really like the other 3 dragons are like fine. Like, it's nice to get more tankiness or damage or healing, but like, you get Cloud Dragon, you're like, you barely notice. Like, there are so few champions that use that ultimate ability haste early. And even if they do, like, it's not something noticeable. And the move speed soul, more egregiously, the soul's bad. It feels bad. It might be amazing, like it might be a huge stat bonus, but like it just feels bad. And you're playing League to like, I don't know, like see impactful things happen.
True.
That's why we make so many of the changes we do. So it's very strange that they continue to not budge on this like movement speed based ability haste. Like you can't witness anything that is happening with this buff.
Yeah.
No one wants Clown Soul.
Yeah,
as far as
that's
I can
true.
tell.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think they should remove it, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am kind of on the same boat. I think a lot of people are pretty much on that train. Again, same thing. I'm like, Cloud Drake is pretty useless. So maybe it'll drive something to that. I don't know. But, what I can say, or what, from the initial thoughts on these new dragons, I don't know how I feel about the Chem Tank one about like you dying and then you become like Scion basically. To me that one does kind of looks a little goofy. I don't know how. I mean, maybe broken, but in my eyes right now, I definitely don't think that's a favorable one for me. I think it'll be interesting with some of the rune changes that they're making. Yeah, they want to make it more kind of defining on what the actual rune does, and and that specifically they talked about the inspiration tree, and they kind of want to make that a little more defined because it kind of seems like I don't know, it doesn't have like a definite role or purpose. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I think it's interesting though that they are looking at some of these runes to make sure that they actually serve a purpose. But you know how it's always going to be. Every time preseason comes out, it's just a huge chaos, and things are going to be ridiculously broken. There are going to be items, especially these new items, where they're just going to be ridiculously broken, and champs that weren't supposed to buy them or not made for them are buying them, and it actually makes them broken because now they can do this thing or whatever. So it'll be fun to see, but it's always cool when Riot's throwing in something fresh. I will say one caveat, and I want to praise Riot a little bit, is that unlike other games, I do think that although this community complains a lot, I think what's cool about Riot is that they're very transparent on what they're seeing on their end as far as data and where they want the gameplay to go. If they're like, look, we actually want this, or we don't want this and we want to go to this certain direction. And so I think at least, from what I've seen, I think as a company, they do a pretty decent job with communicating, certain aspects of the gameplay and development. I don't know if you guys agree, but I just want to throw that out there. What do you guys think? Agree, disagree? No? Should I shut up? It's an opinion.
I kind of no, I don't think you should shut up. I kind of don't think I don't like changes that are crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know, because maybe from a competitive standpoint, like watching it, it's maybe more interesting if the game doesn't change like crazy and someone can like find more of a solution to a certain meta, because it feels like there are times where it's just like teams are just good at one meta and then they don't really show up ever again. And that formula is getting a bit, I don't know, it's like this team was only good because these certain champions were OP. They were very mediocre before. Like, it feels like sometimes that can happen and someone can win worlds that just got really good at the meta. And I don't know. I wonder if like maybe having less drastic changes for maybe a year and seeing what would happen, how bored would people actually get? How dull would the games feel? With just doing regular balance changes.
Or like how we do, like, okay, so you have these big changes for new season. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
So new season got to get, but they, I think, and I believe they addressed this before, where they were trying to have less like big patches and more just kind of tune-ups. I don't know if that's, if that's been received well or whatever, but I think maybe one big patch like for preseason and then one kind of mid patch, to kind of tweak things, big things that have been, they've been seeing for half of the year. It gives
Yep.
more data and more kind of, I guess, clearance or clarity on what they're seeing because they've given half a year, as opposed to like a month's worth of data, right? You haven't actually given time for the community to come up with counters or strategies to defeat whatever's strong. And maybe they don't need to balance it. They just need to let people figure it out a little bit. So, that's
totally.
a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin, what do you think?
I think they've been moving toward it in some ways. Like, we used to have those Juggernaut patch come before was like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Or like the Vladimir patch in bot lane where it's like mages just randomly came up and it was already near playoffs. I think that they do an okay job on this front. But because Riot's such like a multi-faceted, like there's so many teams that do so many different things in the game. It's kind of hard to say like are they doing well as a whole. I will say that having tried a lot of different games in recent months and just trying to play different games from different studios like Blizzard, for example, it's just like I do think they do unfortunately or fortunately they do the best of all the major players out there. Like there's no company that like, yeah, you guys really don't like this thing, we'll change it, and like they'll do it within a few weeks if it's necessary, or they'll like give it some time. For better or for worse, I think it's good for just like not being upset about like, hey, there are cheaters, hey, this gun's broken, hey, this like mechanic is stupid as hell, and you have to deal with it for like 3 months, 6 months, or in Blizzard's case, wait until another game comes out for an expansion of the game. Like it's awful. I do think that on the contrary, like if you watch Brew War, StarCraft Brew War, that game like wasn't patched for like years, like over a decade. And like the meta just kept developing because people were like, hey, this is actually good. We just needed to like think in a different way, and then it constantly evolved because people were counting the counters, right? And we've never had that in a league, and I really wish that pro play was decoupled from casual play. I think that it's about time. Pro play's developed so much that like you can't balance for both perfectly. You really should be. Like I'm totally fine if all the characters do the same thing. Like we keep the clause I would put in is every character does the same dang spell, right? but the power levels and the balance can be tweaked in pro level and for noobs or like newer players. I don't see it, we're not noobs, right?
I think you've mentioned that, and I think honestly I think that's a great idea. But again, you're talking about two different, like, how do they do that for the same game? You know what I mean? Like
they already put them in different realms. Turn 8 realm is not the game. You have to log into a different server and like a different client. You have perfect ping or whatever from the server, right? The games are just different. They're already different realms. It's just that they are in the same patch, right?
I think this again goes back to, we even talked about like having higher ranked challenger players or whatever in their own server. That way they could test things that only really deal specifically with high elo challenger, pro players, because you're right. Like we are nowhere, even like as amateurs, it's so different when you're playing solo queue as opposed to playing, something like Clash, where you have communication. It's already a different game, right? So the fact that you're talking about
the beginning of the game, right? Jungle is different in pro than it is in solo queue. So I don't care that the fantasy of like you can play exactly how you play in solo queue doesn't transfer to stage. It already doesn't do that for a lot of roles. Like supports don't play this, well, maybe they do, but supports don't play the same way in solo queue as they do on stage.
I mean, you try to, but it's just not going to be the same. It's not gonna translate well, and that's exactly again why I think there are certain champions that are super broken in pro play as opposed to solo queue play. They just work better when you have communication and coordination. So
exactly. Again, I'm gonna harp on this until they do it, and I'm like,
we could harp on this forever, but that is for another episode, which we will probably end up talking about when Worlds is over and we're just kind of lulling around until next season. But is there anything else about anything, Worlds or this preseason update that you guys want to throw in there before we wrap up this episode?
I think I'm really excited for group stage to start.
Yes.
Play-ins was pretty cool, but this is like the main course. Like,
the beginning.
This is where we see some of the craziest highlights and memories that's going to make Worlds. So I'm excited. We got some really good teams out there. So this will be fun. 100 Thieves, they were our first seed. Usually that doesn't do great, but it's never been 100 Thieves. So I'm curious to see what will happen. So
that is interesting.
We'll see what happens. It's almost always like TSM or Team Liquid. So
True.
So I'm excited. It'll be interesting. We can do this, guys. Let's go.
Let's go, NA. Woo!
I'll say that like last time around, I was like 60% any team gets all that stuff. I will say that having watched C9, I'm more concerned about our power level. Of course, they were the worst team here,
Yeah.
like out of
Yep.
the three, so like that's at least nice.
Mhm.
But I am a little more concerned watching their play. I think that it's just the whole NA inconsistency. I think we're fighting ourselves all the time instead of
Yeah.
fighting the other teams because we can beat the best teams. I would not be surprised if we beat some of the best teams. It just lose to like DFM, who's actually a good team, but just like not necessarily the best, right? So I think don't be surprised if an NA team really shows up, but prepare yourself for the worst.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it. Thanks again to Kevin and Mitchell for joining in and sharing all their wise thoughts. Hopefully, we'll have Alistair next week, and I believe we're working out our schedule, but we should be able to record on Mondays again. We'll just have to check that out. But World schedule is so weird that thank you for bearing with us with the different days, but hopefully we'll get some consistency soon. But again, thank you for listening. If you liked it, please leave us a review. If you have any questions, tweet us at the All In Podcast or questions at the allinpodcast.gg. But until next time, guys, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we will see you all in the next episode. Peace.